Hey, what is happening, YouTube? I am back. Sorry, I was going to try to do this at 7, and I had to put it off a little bit. So that means that the other one, which I'm going to just do tonight, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen over the next couple of days that, if I'm able to do it, are going to kind of be a tie up for everything. And I'll get into that at a later date. But long story short, had this thing all prepared, all sorted out, had a nice little outline on my email that I put together, a fantastic outline with facts and notes, and so I could kind of look off to my right, which I do. If you watch me, if you watch closely, you'll see I cheat a little bit with my notes that I send to myself via email. I had it set in my email to send to me, and I did, or at least I thought I did. And then I was cleaning out all my tabs that I had up while I was doing my research and whatnot, and I must have closed that window out because when I went to pull it up 10 minutes ago, it was gone. Nowhere in my email. So I'm going to have to wing it. I just want to get this one out. But tonight, we're here to talk about the second, technically the first. This set is the second in the series, but it was actually the very first one that came out. Now, why is that, you would say? But I mean, because right there you can see, you probably can't see it yet. See it on the spine, you see number 2. So this one is the Miles Davis, Gil Evans complete Columbia studio recordings. And the reason this came out second to the one we went over last time, the John Coltrane complete quintet with John Coltrane and his band at that point when he first signed to Columbia. The reason that this one comes out second is that most of the recordings, or a lot of the recordings sessions for those early Coltrane albums, came out before the second series. Now, or they came out in somewhere along the line. So, for example, the first Miles and Coltrane album, I believe, was around about midnight, and that came out, I believe, in 55 or 6. The first album that he did with Gil Evans was 57, and that was Miles Ahead. But, again, he was doing a lot of various sessions, creating these, yeah, right, Rick, yeah, it's valuable, man, super valuable gold. And you're the only person watching. I guess nobody else gives a fuck about Miles Davis, which is fine. That's cool. I don't do those. I do it for anybody that wants to come along and check it out. So the Kind of Blue session, or the stuff that was for Kind of Blue, came out in 59. And then you had, round about midnight, you had, what was it? Relaxin', Steamin'. So you had other albums that came out before these. These were... That's why they're second in succession as far as linear chronology. But the actual set itself, the issuance by Sony Legacy, came out. This was the first one to come out. This came out in 1996. I remember very clearly where I bought it. I bought it at a place called Coconuts, which was a strip mall store. I believe they're tied in with FYE, or they were somehow, maybe they were one and the same. I don't know if they were owned by the same people or not, but long story short, I saw this set, and I was starting to dip my toe into Miles. I think I already had the regular edition of Bitches Brew, and I might have had a live Evo or something like that. And I knew that I wanted to kind of get deeper into Miles, but I really wasn't sure where to start. And this was pre-internet, 1996. So, you didn't have stuff like Rate Your Music, or you didn't have anything. You just kind of had to go on your gut. And this set, if I remember correctly, back then, retail was like $150, which is a shitload of money. When you think about it, that's literally like $25 no, not 25 a disc, about 20 a disc, which is crazy. A little more than that, $22.50 a disc. It's crazy that this was during the late 90s, when CDs were going for crazy, stupid money, and they kept doing that until they burn out the buying public, and everybody started to finally go to peer-to-peer and burning CDs and downloading and stuff. But some of us were stupid enough to pay retail on this. You can get this now for $40-$50 if you find the right. If you find it used, you can maybe even find it cheaper than that. New, I think brand new on Amazon, I saw they're going for $129. They do not have the metal spine. They just have a book-like spine. These metal spines are the ones that are kind of I guess you call them the more in demand, and they are the first issues. So as I started to say, I had an outline put together that now is gone, so I'm going to have to wing it. So the sessions on here encompass essentially 3 main albums that Miles put out, with Gil Evans conducting and rewriting other people's songs and putting his own songs in there, and Miles putting some of his own compositions in there as well. But essentially, this set encompasses 3 albums: Miles Ahead from 1957, Porgy and Bess from 1958, and Sketches of Spain from 1959, or was it 60? See, I don't have my cheat sheet, so I'm going to cheat a little bit by looking here and making sure I've got the information correct, because I don't want to give you the incorrect information. Yeah, where are we at? Well, there's also there's a partial 4th album on here called Quiet Nights that Miles did not want issued, but they Columbia, I believe, ended up putting it out anyways with some unfinished tracks. And it sounds kind of unfinished. It sounds like it was kind of like things in flux. There's about 6 tracks that were done for a future album that didn't come out then until I think 64. They say the sessions are released 68. There is also on this, and what kind of makes this worthwhile if you're a Miles junkie, is that there is actually 84 previously unreleased tracks on here, which is crazy. There is the entire kind of making of Miles Ahead, which was the first album that they put out, which is fucking phenomenal. But the making of, it's sketches, it starts and stops, it's alternate takes, it's talking in between. You hear Miles and Gil talking through the intercom in the studio, or from the control room to the studio. So it's kind of, I wouldn't exactly call it like a necessary thing, but it is kind of neat to see how the album is formulating. And the one thing that should be noted about this 1957 for Miles Ahead, it was the first album in Miles's career that they were actually able to overdub. In the previous sessions, these guys were nailing those tracks in one take. If they didn't get it in one take, remember, they're all reading music, so they're all pretty professional, but they still would make mistakes, right? But this is when this is all long before the days of overdubbing, which was the first way of comping in sections that weren't right. Say you had a bum note or a bum, verse or sequence or something like that. You could then start to splice and cut tape and put in a new recording, a portion of recording that to fix whatever that issue was that the fuck up, for lack of a better way of putting it. But very long before digital, where you could just cut and paste sections and move things around and shift things, you had to be a real musician back then. You had to be a killer musician. And these guys were all amazing musicians back then. So you do get alternate takes. Not many of them. These are all the sessions. This was everything that was pretty much available. There are some interesting notes here. I'm gonna have to read them because I had my cheat sheet and that's kind of gone. But what I want to look up. Yeah, where is it here? Sketches of Spain came out in November of. It was recorded between 59 and 60, and it was released in July of 1960. I was going to say 59, but it was 60. So this was after the success of after the success of Kind of Blue. And what's really kind of crazy about Porgy and Bess, I believe, was his greatest selling album until Bitches Brew, which is kind of stunning that it actually outsold Kind of Blue. But anyways, so let's see here. The Miles Ahead is kind of a straightforward big band jazz album. It's a Miles vehicle for his trumpet, but he's surrounded by some of the greatest players of the day at that point. You had people like you had Gil Evans doing the orchestrations, writing out the orchestrations, playing piano. You had there are a couple vocal tracks on here later. Bob Doro, who I have no idea who that is. Steve Lacy on soprano saxophone. You had Cannonball Adderley on alto sax. Lee Konitz on alto sax. Wayne Shorter on tenor sax. You had a whole bunch of other trumpet players that were in the orchestra. No one here that I'm really familiar with, to be honest with you. Bunch of trombone players. I think Jimmy Cleveland was a big guy at that time. You had French horns. You had tubas. You had oboes, clarinets, bass, clarinet, flutes. You had another flute player, Hubert Laws. You had bassoon, harp. You had Wynton Kelly on piano. Wynton Kelly then he had played on a few of the sessions with the John Coltrane quintet, Miles and John Coltrane quintet. You had Paul Chambers, who was in the quintet on bass. You had Ron Carter, who I believe then played. Where did he play? He played with. Oh my goodness. He played on a lot of solos, but he played a lot. Oh, he played with Miles on Milestones. He played on a lot of different jazz bands. You had Art Taylor, Philly Joe Jones, Jimmy Cobb on drums, Tony Williams on drums. You also had Herbie Hancock on piano and electric piano. That's where he first started using Herbie Hancock. You also had Joe Beck on electric guitar. You don't really hear the guitar much on this that I'm aware of, that I can recall. Elvin Jones, percussion. Elvin Jones, I believe, ended up then playing with Miles Davis, I believe. Or Coltrane. Sorry, Coltrane. And I wanted to double check one more thing here, because Wynton Kelly, I believe he played with Dizzy Gillespie. He played with Coltrane, Hank Mobley, Wes Montgomery. That's where I know him from. Wes Montgomery was Wynton Kelly. Great pianist at the time. McCourt Tyner was the previous guy from the quintet. So you had all amazing players on in this orchestra. What I also wanted to note was that this came out in 1996, the first issue, and as I said, the Steel Spine is the first issue of this. I am not certain if they did another Steel Spine, but what they did do, there were several other reissues of this in a book format. Let's look here. Yeah, where's that? There we go. Complete recordings. There was an 11 LP set that came out on Mosaic Records in '96 as well. God knows what that's worth. I've never looked it up. It's got to be probably fucking crazy. I did not know that. I know he only died in 90s. I think 96, somewhere in that range. Ron Carter. So yeah, he was still a contemporary bass player. Great bass player. So the 6 CD came out in 96. Then they reissued. It was issued in Japan in a first edition, limited edition. Then it came out a remastered box set. No, wait. No, that's the same damn thing. What the hell? It was reissued in 2004. To my knowledge, I know it came out in a book set too, and I don't see that here. Unless that's the 96 book set. I don't really know. Kind of weird. Just a quick note on here. A couple quick notes. Tracks 1 through 10 on CD 1 of this are the original Miles Davis plus 19, which is the orchestra. There were 19 people in the orchestra. under the direction of Gil Evans. That came out in 1957. Tracks, disc 2, 1 through 13 was originally issued 1959 for Porgy and Bess, the original album. That's disc 2. Disc 3, tracks 1 through 5 were originally on Sketches of Spain 1960. Disc 3, track 6 also came out on Miles Davis Directions in 1981. Disc 4, tracks 1 through 6 came out on Quiet Nights. That came out in 1963, not 68. My bad. Disc 4, number 7, the track number 7 was issued on various Jingle Bell Jazz in 1962. Disc 4, track 8 came out on Miles Davis Sorcerer. It's a vocal track with that guy that I said, Donoro, whatever his name was. Yeah, I missed his. Where the hell is it? I should know these things, but again, I had it all written down on my cheat sheet. And now I don't have my cheat sheet, so I've got to go to Wikipedia because there's no way I'm remembering all this stuff. Bob Doro, he sings on that one song on track 5 that ended up on the album Sorcerer by Miles in what did we say? 68 was it? 67. Track 9 on here ended up on various Giants of Jazz in 1963. That's on disc 4. And also on disc 4, track 20 originally issued on Miles Ahead on a 1993 reissue. So you're like, wow, what's that all mean? Those are all the tracks on here that were not previously issued or were not alternate takes. So they have a place in here. So we'll do this and see if I can show you these. It's probably not going to be easy to do. Hang on. So there's the original Miles Ahead, Miles Davis plus 19. I'm going to do a share screen here to make it a little bit easier for me and not bend my book pages up. So we had nope. So first of all, let's do this. Let's do some Miles Davis and Gil Evans pictures. These are all pictures in the studio of Miles and Gil working on tracks. There's the Miles. That's one of the alternate covers for Miles Ahead. Miles Davis plus 15. I believe that might have been the original cover. And then there is another cover that we'll get to in a minute here. But these are pictures of various pictures of Miles and Gil. There's the original. There's the sailboat cover for the vinyl edition of Miles Ahead, 1957. I like that, man. I love that cover because it's very evocative of the 50s. I mean, it just the hat, the way the woman's dressed, it just has that. I don't know, it has that 50s, 60s vibe, right? It just looks super cool. And there's an alternative cover there, what we just showed you. Here's an alternative cover. Oh, no, that's Porgy and Bess's cover right there. Kind of a weird cover. Porgy and Bess was a play, I believe. I believe it was a European play, I believe. Don't really know a whole lot about it other than that. And then you've got Sketches of Spain here. That's the cover for Sketches of Spain that came out in 1960. Going to talk a little bit about these albums then real quick. Here's the Metal Spine. I was kind of hoping I'd run into... All right, nope, that's it too, isn't it? That's the Japanese version right there. And then this is Quiet Nights, which was issued in 63, I believe. And this has 6 tracks that we're done with Gil. I think it's got, on this album, it's got Night of the Barracudas, which is actually a really cool track. But it was not something that Miles really wanted to be put out. Let me find it here. So, yeah, Quiet Nights. I think it's the first 2, 4, 6. Corcovado, Wait Till You See Her. Song number 1, Ayos Paz de Cruz, Once Upon a Summertime. I don't know if that's on the actual album. Song number 2. And then later there's Time of the Barracudas, which is a 12-minute Gil Evans, Miles Davis thing. And then there's Falling Water, a bunch of different takes for Gil Evans written compositions. And then you've got numbers of different takes from like Springsville, from Miles Ahead, the Maids of Cadiz, from Sketches of Spain, some kind of the Duke from Porgy and Bess. I mean, just all kind of mixed up stuff in here on the Quiet Nights, the Quiet Nights album. But so basically, Miles and Gil had actually worked together on The Birth of Cool, and that was 1953 or 4, I believe, 54. So they were aware of each other. Miles really respected Gil's ability to take a chart and write an orchestral piece around it. And a lot of people called Gil kind of like the reimaginer, that he really wasn't a very good writer of his own compositions, but that he was really, really good at taking already established pieces and rewriting them. So a lot of this stuff is rewritten stuff. I mean, you got Miles Ahead starts out with Springsville, which is a banger of a track. Just a fucking awesome, 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 awesome freaking song. That was written by Jay Carisi. Yeah, he died in 92. Trumpet player. And then you had the Maids of Cadiz. Actually, I'm sorry, Maids of Cadiz is not on. It's on Miles Ahead. And the Duke and My Ship and Miles Ahead. Those first 5 tracks, probably blues for Pablo too. The whole album Miles Ahead is just fantastic. And then you get down here to the end. I don't want to be kissed by anyone but you. That is the last track on the album, and then what you've got is tons of retakes and take 11s, take 5s, take all these existing things that manage to escape being erased over or being damaged or going missing, and when they put this stuff in storage. Porgy and Bess, then, as we talked about, that is here, and you've got a couple different covers here. They all kind of look basically the same, although you do see here's like a Polydor, or who is that, Polydor? I can't read that label. Yeah, I can't read it. Lots of reissues. You've got a couple, like I said, a couple different covers for it, and this is another wonderful album. It's very melancholic, very what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of ballady in a lot of ways, versus Miles Ahead, which is a lot more upbeat, a lot more big band jazzy sounding. Although I wouldn't necessarily call it big band, I'd call it just very orchestrated Miles. Miles really starts to use the flugel. He uses the flugelhorn, which is the smaller trumpet, and it has a very piccolo sort of vibe to it. Although there is a piccolo trumpet that I don't know if he ever used that. To be honest with you, I probably did, but I don't know if he ever did or not that I'm aware of. I think I have this one as well. I have a lot of these things in their original incarnation. To be honest with you, it's kind of stupid, but I have a lot of Miles Davis, probably about 40 titles between the box sets and the singular ones. So yeah, that's Porgy and Bess. And then we've got some Silent Night covers. I believe that always remained the same. Actually, no, right? Well, that's Big Fun. It looks like that. And this is, kind of the era. Not all these. Some of these are 70s and 80s Miles there. But so that's the one that came out in 63. And I don't mind it. A lot of Miles purists hate it because they feel like it was pretty incomplete and it wasn't very good. I don't mind it. I kind of like some of the orchestrations on it and kind of find it to be a pretty cool, almost like a late night album, sort of like in the vein of similar to Kind of Blue. Some cool shots of Miles here. we're going to talk about this one because that's the next one that's coming up. And I'm going to make sure I have all my ducks in line on that one. But yeah, so that's that. And then, so that was, like I said, that was a kind of a, that one was kind of a non-fact. Did I not show that? Motherfucker. I thought I was in there. Okay. There we go. Sketches of Spain. All the same, obviously the same thing. This one's quite different than Porgy and Bess and Miles Ahead and even Silent Nights. It's very, very, it has a very Spanish vibe to it. And they didn't really set out to do that. It just kind of happened that way. It was just the way the material started to flesh out. A lot of it was written by other writers, other compositions outside of, some of it was, I mean, let me look here real quick before I say this. Yeah, Johnny Rodrigo, or Joaquin Rodrigo, not Johnny, Joaquin. Yeah, Will o' the Wisp written here by Manuel de Falla. You had the first track on that. Well, let's go back. Let's get to Miles Ahead real quick. So I'm gonna real quick shout out some tracks on Miles Ahead. Miles Ahead just is probably my favorite of the three, although I really like Sketches of Spain. But Springsville is just a banger of a track. The Duke is really, really cool. That's a Dave Brubeck track. If you don't know Dave Brubeck, he did that. Take Five. It has the drum solo in it, which was unheard of at that time to start out that way. Maids of Cadiz is amazing. My Ship is great. Miles Ahead is fantastic. Blues for Pablo. The whole album, I really, really like Miles Ahead. Probably the best. Buzzard Song, which leads off Porgy and Bess, really downbeat, kind of almost like a melancholic blues song. Gone is really, really fantastic. Gone, Gone, Gone is really good. That's Gone was a adaptation of Gone, Gone, Gone which is a Gershwin tune. The two Gershwins, Ira and George Gershwin. And you've got Gil Evans then sort of imagines it with the track Gone. What else is on here? Prayer's really good. My Man's Gone Now. That's another real banger on here. So, and again, I like there's a boat that's leaving soon for New York, which I don't know. I think that was part of the original album. I'm not entirely sure. There's a lot of, I think it was. And then you've got lots of takes, some alternate takes. Not as much on Porgy and Bess. There was not a lot of extraneous material like there was for Miles Ahead. And then Sketches of Spain. The leadoff track is a banger. Concerto de Aranjuez Adagio. Really fantastic. Solea by Gil Evans. Fantastic. Song of Our Country. The full version of Saida is really fantastic. And then there's a couple more reimaginings and different takes and such. So then on Quiet Nights and More, that's kind of the mixed bag one that you got the first, I think it's the first six. First six tracks are ones that Gil and Miles had worked on that ended up on this album that came out in '63. Much to Teo Macero, who was his producer, kind of put it out, and Miles was not happy and wouldn't work with Teo for like almost 4 years after that. He just didn't feel it was there was worth putting out. There's also an Antonio Carlos Jobim track on here. If you know Jobim, he did Girl from Ipanema, salsa, samba, guitar player, writer, fantastic musician, just an amazing pianist. Corcovado is a song by him. And then I said you had this Falling Water suite where there's a couple different tracks there, different takes, kind of all the same track, but different takes of them. Lament medley, but all kinds of stuff. There's another take of the Duke on here. I Don't Want to Be Kissed by Anyone But You. I mean, that's another one that's another different take. So there's a lot of The Devil May Care. And Blue Xmas is the track on here that was on the Christmas CD, or not CD, album that they put out. And then you got the Making of Miles Ahead. That's CD5. That's all the different rehearsal takes, rehearsal sequences, rehearsal with piano, without piano, maids of Cadiz, all this stuff. It's just a long, involved process. I think it's 23 tracks. One's a pause track at the end. That is kind of shows the album being put together and recorded and how it's coming together basically. So that's that. And it's is it one of those things where you're going to throw it in and listen to it a lot? No, I've listened to it maybe twice. Do I think I'll ever listen to it again? No, I listened to all four of the main albums today to get myself in the mindset of talking about this. But I did not listen to that, and I did not listen to track 6, which is alternate and rehearsal takes. You got more tracks of Miles Ahead, like numerous spring fills with an overdub solo, without an overdub solo, different solo. Just shit. I think there's 6 versions of Miles Ahead on here on this rehearsal thing. Tons of different stuff. A couple of Porgy and Bess tracks. And a couple of the tracks off of the Sketches of Spain album. So let's see. I read off who producer was: George Avakian, Irving Townsend, John Thompson, Teo Macero, and Cal Lampley. These were all famous producers of that era that did jazz records. Talks about different guys on here that were part of the reissue campaign. I'm not going to go into that. I think that's kind of it on this. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. Anybody got any questions? There's only 3 of you here. I guess nobody's into this this one tonight. But I did want to show for the last album that I did was the Quintet Sessions. And this is also the Miles Davis Quintet, the legendary Prestige Sessions. This is remember, Miles was on Columbia and Prestige. He was originally on Prestige, then he went over to Columbia. These are the Prestige sessions. So there's a lot of tracks on here. I don't honestly know if there's any that, Around Midnight's on here. My Funny Valentine, When Lights Are Low. There is a lot of Bye Bye Blackbirds on here. So there is some crossover, but it was done at the Prestige sessions, not at the Columbia sessions. So they're technically, they're different. I remember I got this for kind of a steal. I think I got this for like $20, and it was going for like 80 or 90. It might have been, maybe I got it for 40. Nice booklet for the Prestige sessions. I can talk about this one later. I really need to listen to it. Wait, shit. I'm sorry. Hold on. So, 4 CDs on this one. This came out in 2006 on Prestige Records. So, really nice box set, man. Really, really good one. And it is considerably different to the Columbia sessions, obviously. You had Philly Joe Jones, you had Paul Chambers, you had Red Garland, who was with him at that point before Bill Evans came in on piano, and McCoy Tyner. Yeah, McCoy Tyner, I think. So this is the legendary Prestige, but a lot of this stuff was recorded in and around at the time that the Columbia, John Coltrane and Quintet stuff, the Miles and Coltrane box set. So again, I'm going to pimp this book, which I started reading the other day, which I'm not the greatest reader on the internet. I can kind of do it, but again, Milestones, The Music and Times of Miles Davis by Jack Chambers. Two different like books of this. The first one, I believe, the second one here is, which is where I wanted to start, because I finished it. Since 1960, and the other one is the early, the early history, the music and times of Miles Davis. This is a great compendium of stuff if you want to get into Miles. This will tell you more than you will ever want to know about Miles. So, since hardly anybody's watching, we're going to wrap up real quick. This is the only this is part of the metal spine set. It was the third one that, oh no, that's not right. What am I doing? That is not right. What the hell? I was thinking that was the third one. Hold on a second. Is it this one? That's 4. 8. 6. Huh. Well, how about that shit? Where's number 3? You know what? That's bizarre. I do not have number 3 here. I'm going to have to hunt for it. Before we get into that, I got to figure out which one number 3 was. Are you serious? I thought I knew this stuff. Hold on a sec, guys. Kind of blowing my mind. I could have swore that Kind of Blue was the third set, but it's not. So what the hell? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Hold on. I am extremely confused. I'm really confused. This is very bizarre. Hold on a sec. Very bizarre. I am really confused about this. 1, 2, 7, 4. Oh, there it is. I looked at it, I thought it said 8. I should have known better. It was only 7. So this is the next one we'll go over. This is, and it's actually might, between this and Gil, and I like them all. This is number 3. This is the 7 Steps to Heaven. This one I got used, and it was in literally perfect condition. But I see a little dimple on the thing that I probably put there. 7 Steps to Heaven. This encompasses a lot of fantastic early 60s work, as well as some really killer live work. This is a 7 CD series. We're going to get into this one next. I'll have quite a bit to say about that one. So the 7 Steps to Heaven is next. I think that's it. I don't think there was anything else. Stay tuned. We're going to do the box set stuff. I'm going to pull those box sets here, and we'll get started at 9 o'clock on the sharing a 6-pack. Doesn't look like anybody's going to pop in tonight. I guess nobody gives a fuck. But I'm doing these because I don't think I'm going to be able to do them much longer. I think my illness is taking over. It's really fucking me up real bad the last 2 days. So I just don't know how many more of these are going to do. But in case you watch this, I'm going to throw out some quick things I've got planned, whether they happen or not. We'll see. We'll see. Tomorrow is a pretty big day because I'm going to have to address some things that I've been dreading and putting off. Tuesday night, allegedly. I'm saying Tuesday night. The plan is at 9 o'clock to do the first 4 sets of the Jethro Tull box sets, the 40th anniversary book box sets, which I didn't pull one out, but you can see it on my thumbnail. You can see what they look like. They're incredible. I'm not doing a track by track or a deep breakdown. They will be kind of a show and tell, kind of go into a real quick history on the albums. We'll do a deep dive on Jethro Tull somewhere down the road, probably a 2-parter on that one, maybe even 3, but probably 2, where we get into track by track and, real deep dive. This is kind of to show you the box sets. That's Tuesday at 9. Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern. And that's 9 o'clock Eastern, by the way. Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Myself, Jimmy from Future Ruins, Nick from Thralls, and Jam and John from Thralls. We are going to do the catalog of Cynic. We're going to do the 4 albums, the 2 EPs. I don't think we're going to do the retraced, the reimaginings or whatever. We may, though. And then we're going to definitely talk about Euroboric forms, the demos. So that's Wednesday night at 10. I think Thursday and Friday are dark days. Saturday at shit, man, this is terrible. Hang on. If I had my cheat sheet, I'd know what the fuck I'm doing, man. This really bothers me that I'm this far kind of off. This really set me off. Okay. Yeah, Jethro Tull. I have it scheduled for 8:30, but I'm going to move it to 9. That's Tuesday night. Cynic, 10 o'clock. Sunday, May 21st. So maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it might be quiet. Maybe. Probably. I've got Hawkwind, Quirk, Strangeness, and Deep Dives. Melinda, my friend Melinda, who was on with me for Dead Can Dance, we are going to break down the first 9 Hawkwind albums plus Space Ritual, the one live album from the 70s, 73. And we're going to, from 1970 to 1980, we're going to get into the Hawkwind catalog. Probably stop there, but you never know. Maybe she'll coax me into doing a few 80s albums. And then, as far as the rest of what's coming up, the only 2 things I'm definitely planning, there's a couple things I'm working on, but they're probably out a ways if I'm well enough or capable enough of doing these things, which I say that a lot lately because things are getting very grim. But like right now, I'm sitting here talking to you guys. I'm in pain that is just not even describable in my abdomen and my back. It's just not even understandable. My hips, my legs, the nerves are dying. So I am in constant pain. And the medication I'm taking, not the real kind of pain medication, it doesn't really help very much. They're going to have to switch that over soon. The other 2 things that are planned, May 27th at 7 or 8 p.m. I haven't gotten firm commitments 100% around, but we're going to try to do, finally, although it's been done to death on a lot of channels, we're going to try to do it here in a different sort of way. We're going to do the catalog of Death plus the one Control the Night album, so 8 total albums. And it's going to be a pretty big panel. Right now, I have basic commitments from Devin, my daughter Lauren, myself, obviously, Nick from Thralls, Rick. We're going to have, Rick. I'm sorry. Who else? Kevin Huffnagel from Gorguts, Dennis from Analog Archives, and then there's 1 or 2 other feelers I have out there for like actual artists that I've asked to participate. We'll see whether they join us. I'm not going to throw them out there and say they're definitely coming on when I don't know for sure. I spoke to Max Phelps from Death to All, and I'm hopeful he might drop in quickly, but I can't guarantee it. Spoke to Luke LeMay from Gorguts, invited him in. Can't guarantee he's going to come. And I'm not going to say that they are until they are. So that should be Saturday the 27th. Now, the last thing, and it's something I've been threatening and wanting to do forever, and I finally found a pair of people to work with me on this that I know will do well, and that is the Boards of Canada deep dive. And it's going to be pretty extensive and pretty intense. A new contributor, a new, face. You might have seen him on Saturday. Ben Steiner, Flurry Steiner, I believe is his name. Ben is going to be joining me to do the Boards of Canada deep dive, as is Melinda. The plan is to do it on Sunday, probably around 8:30 my time. 8:30 or 9:30 on Sunday the 28th. So Boards of Canada, that's the plan. It could change between now and then. Those are all the things I have planned. I do want to do something with my daughter. I want to get that last phase of Bowie out, but I think that won't, with Eric and my daughter Maddie, I don't think that'll happen until June if it happens. I also want to do with my daughter Maddie a talk deep dive, and I'm hoping that I can get a deep dive on talk with my daughter Maddie and my friend Melinda. I'm hoping that I can do that. So guys, I'm gonna bail out for 14 minutes. We're gonna come right back. I have to pull these sets out for the sharing a 6-pack. I've got 6. I may actually throw 1 or 2 extras in just for shits and giggles, or maybe show some other goodies I have sitting around. Again, we're gonna do next time we convene for Miles. It's gonna be the 7 Steps to Heaven. Just a fantastic set right here. Yeah, number 3 in the box set series, not 8, like I thought it said. It's number 8. And Rick, this one's not gold. I think it's silver. I'm not sure. Yeah. So anyone that's checking out Miles and wants to get into the more orchestral side of Miles, this is the way to go. Miles Davis and Gil Evans, Miles Ahead, Porgy and Bess, the Sketches of Spain, and Quiet Nights. All well worth owning. All are on here, plus 84 unreleased or previously unreleased alternate takes or different tracks, things that were not released. So Miles and Gil, set number 2 that was actually set number 1. This was the first one, remember, that came out in 96, because the Coltrane one came out in 2000. Yeah, and I jumped ahead on this one, which is weird because it's the only one. Number 4 is the quartet with Herbie Hancock and Tony Williams. Maybe Ron Carter was on that. I'll have to double check. I forget who played bass. But this is Silent in a Silent Way. Beautiful, beautiful, and only 3 discs. But it's the only one that does not have a metal spine. Why they did it that way, I don't know. I think a lot of the reissues of these sets all came with that style. So, and you can see here's the Miles on Columbia. There is, by the way, a 72 disc box set. I think this is it. That's it right there. Oh no, that's the Metal Spine series promo. There is a box set with all 72 albums of Miles out there. I saw it for $246. Man, that's tempting, but I own so many of them already that I would kind of be, I don't know, be kind of stupid to do that. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes, and I'll see you then. All right. Keep trumpeting, fellows. That was kind of weird. See you soon.